Morning, guys. On Matthew 18, reading from verse 1 to 9, looking at a section that talks of the childlikeness of a believer. At the time, the disciples came to Jesus, saying, "Who is the greatest in the kingdom?" And calling to him a child, he put him in the midst of them, and said, "Truly I say to you, unless you turn and become like children, you will never enter the kingdom of God." And so he's taking a child, so we know that the context is child, but then when he talks about entering the kingdom of heaven, we know now he's actually referring more than just children, he's referring to young believers as well. So when he goes on to say in verse 4, "Whoever humbles himself like this child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven," we just naturally we tend to be filled with pride, especially young believers. But we need to humble ourselves. If you think of a childlike faith, the trustingness of a child, we need to have that humility when we come before God. "Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me." And we just think of how sometimes we can judge new believers for the way they look or the way they act. We don't show much grace, but we need to receive them as little children within the faith that the God's given them at that time. "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." The millstone was a very large stone the donkeys drew for grinding grain, and to have this tied around your neck and thrown in the sea is certain destruction. And so it's very, very serious when we cause those who are innocent, those who are trusting, if we start to tell them lies, deceive them. And that's why there's such an outcry with these pedophiles, because they corrupting innocence. They're corrupting the innocence of a child, and so it's very, very serious, and God views it as serious, and God views us causing them to stumble in any such way. It could be just exposing them to sin, because it goes on to talk about sin in the next verse. It could be just in some way misleading them and bringing them down the wrong path. In verse 7 it says, "Woe to the world for temptations to sin, for it is necessary that temptations come, but woe to the one by whom the temptation comes." So temptations will come, but there's a strong warning and bad destruction, and that's why Jesus had such harsh words for the Pharisees, because they led people astray and they led false converts, the false gospel, and so in the same way there's going to, and it talks about, I think it's in Jude, a double portion of hell. The darkness, the worst part of hell is reserved for them, and so there's great judgment on those who are part of tempting these children or these young believers away from Christ. Woe to them. And if your hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. Treat sin very, very seriously. It is better for you to enter crippled or lame than with 2 hands or 2 feet, or to be thrown into the eternal fire. Sin has consequences. The consequences are severe, and ultimately sin will send you to hell forever, to burn forever, and to be judged forever. And so we have to take sin seriously, and we have to make sure that we're not allowing sin to corrupt our children and the young believers in the church. If your eye causes you sin, tear it out, throw it away. It is better for you to enter life with 1 than 2 eyes, and to be thrown into the hell of fire. And so we know those temptations come, and we need to cut them off. Be harsh, be firm. We know if it's coming through someone else's child that's causing your children to do bad things. If you've allowed bad movies into your home, you cut it out. If you've allowed cell phones to cause pornography, if you've allowed alcohol in your home that's causing drunkenness, there's many different examples where we can compromise and we can allow things, temptations, to cause others to sin. And we need to take it strong and harsh and then cut those things off. Amen.